أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
Hello viewers, I'm back with most informative video about the Battle of Uhud. In this video we'll discuss it in regards with the Quran and Hadith. If we lose the war and the birds come and snatch our corpses, you will still not come down from this mountain until I give you an order. And if we win the war, you will still not come down but wait for my order. Saying these words, the Prophet, peace be upon him, placed an army of archers on a hill in the field of Uhud. The war began. The number of the infidels was 3,000, and the Muslims 1,000. In a short while the Muslims pushed the infidels back from the field of Uhud. The infidels were running away from the field, and the Muslims were convinced that they had won the war. But suddenly what happened was dreadful. Because of a small mistake of the Muslims, all the companions were martyred. The Prophet, peace be upon him, was martyred, and the Muslims were killed by the infidels from both sides. In Badr, the number of the infidels was 3 times more than that of the Muslims, but they were badly defeated. Now on Shawwal 3 Hijri, to avenge the same insult, the infidels of Mecca prepared 3,000 soldiers and advanced towards Medina. The Muslims had 1,000 soldiers, but they were still 3 times less than the Meccans. But this time there was a very clever man in the army of the infidels, whose name was Khalid bin Walid. The Prophet, peace be upon him, called his companions to make a plan for the war. Some people said that we should stay in Medina and protect the city, but most of the people said that we should enter the open field and fight the enemy. The Prophet, peace be upon him, accepted the majority's opinion. 1,000 companions left Medina and advanced towards the field of Uhud. The Muslims had 1,000 soldiers, but they did not have all the military equipment. Approximately 100 Muslims had shields and armor. The Prophet, peace be upon him, divided the army into 3 parts, the Muhajirin, the Aus, and the Khazraj. On the other hand, the infidels had 3,000, and they were all armed. The infidels of Mecca were waiting for the Muslims in the field of Uhud. One of the Muslim soldiers was a hypocrite, Abdullah bin Ubay, who took his 300 men with him on the eve of the war, and said, "This is suicide. We should have stayed in Medina and protected ourselves. In this way we will be killed in the field." Now the Muslims had only 700 left, and there was an army of 3,000 in front of them. The Prophet, peace be upon him, placed 50 archers on a hill and gave them a clear order that, whether we win the war or lose it, you will not descend from the hill, but you will wait for my order. The leader of the army of Uhud was Abu Sufyan. On one side of him was Iqama bin Abu Jahl, and on the other side was Khalid bin Walid with his cavalry. Now it was the Battle of Badr. First a one-on-one battle, and then a general battle. A leader came out of the army of Uhud, and he threatened the Muslims. So Imam Ali killed him with 1 arrow. Then another came, and Hazrat Hamza also sent him to hell. After this the general battle began. The infidels were already overpowering the Muslims, but slowly the Muslims' feet began to freeze, and in a short while they pushed the infidels back from the field. Mawla Ali also showed such bravery here, with his cavalry, that tearing the ranks of the infidels, he sent his 11 great leaders to hell. In every battle, Mawla Ali's wisdom had a great effect. He would kill the great leaders beforehand, so that the common people who were left behind could run away from the field. It was clear to the Muslims that now they had won the battle, and the infidels were going to run away from the field. Therefore, out of the 50 arrows on the hill, 40 arrows fell down and began to collect the spoils of war. But some people stood there, which the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, forbade them to come down. The infidels were running away from the field, but in the meantime Khalid bin Walid's arrows caught their eyes. He saw that the field was clear, and the arrows had fallen down. He took his cavalry and came from the other side of the hill and attacked the Muslims from behind. When the infidels saw that Khalid bin Walid had attacked the Muslims again, they turned back and attacked the Muslims from the other side. In this way, the Muslims were surrounded by the infidels between two armies. The purpose of the archery on the hill was so that no one could attack the Muslims from behind. The companions misunderstood the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and made a very big mistake unknowingly. The Muslims were busy collecting the spoils of war, and suddenly Khalid bin Walid struck the Muslims. Some of the infidels attacked the tent of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, because of which they were injured, and because of a stone, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, lost his teeth. As soon as the Muslims were attacked from the other side, many people left the field and ran away, and some people climbed the mountains. But there are some characters whose story is not complete without mentioning them. Among them are Saad Farist, Imam Ali, Saad bin Abi Waqas, and Hazrat Talha. These people protected the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and kept him safe from the attack of the enemy. Imam Ali stopped the arrows and swords coming towards the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, by making them the shield of his body, and he cut so many infidels around the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, that the shield of his sword broke. He tried to stop the sword coming towards the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, with his arm, because of which he had a very deep wound on his arm. Hazrat Saad bin Abi Waqas, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was protecting the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and was shooting arrows at the enemy. These are the few people who did not back down even for a moment, while the great companions of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, became careless and backed away. In this battle, the beloved uncle of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and a great commander of the Islamic army, Hazrat Amir Hamza, was martyred. Abu Sufyan's wife, Himta, had brought a Habshi slave to avenge the death of her loved one in Badr. He was an expert in throwing a spear. As soon as he got the chance, he hid and attacked, and Hazrat Amir Hamza was martyred. Hazrat Amir Hamza had caused a lot of damage to the Quraysh in Badr, and this was his revenge. And Maulana Ali, other than Badr and Uhud, had beheaded the great leaders of the Quraysh in all the wars. So why was he not avenged? You must remember this, because in the coming videos I will definitely tell you how the Quraysh took revenge from Maulana Ali for Badr and Uhud. In the end, Maulana Ali killed 11 great leaders of the Quraysh, and a total of 27 disbelievers were killed, and 70 Muslims were martyred. Some people say that the Muslims were defeated in this battle, but this is wrong. This was not a defeat, but a test for the Muslims, and it was the result of that mistake which the Muslims made while apologizing to the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. May Allah forgive me. If you're interested in our videos, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching.